Now 22 starts off the passage looking like any other passage. It's a question without a line reference, and it seems like, okay, this is probably about the entire passage because that's usually what the first question is going to be about. But as with any question, we need to just look to the next question, number 23, and see what we're dealing with. And sure enough, it tells us that we've got an evidence pair. So this is going to help us sort through these choices. And so we can answer this pair right away. We don't need to wait until the end. And thinking in terms of the chronology rule, one thing that's kind of weird is this is a lot of different types of line references. We've got a lot in the beginning, and then we've got this one 34 to 36 that seems like an outlier. And what you might do is also then go to question 24 and look at what's the chronology. Because that can help you pick apart some of those line references and say, okay, because of the chronology rule, since question 24 is about line 18, it's much more likely that the answer to question 23 is before line 18. So that makes choice D suspect. It means that it's probably wrong because that would break the chronology rule. However, with all of these things, they're not perfect rules. Sometimes the SAT does break the rule, so that can happen. That's fine. We just need to read choice D anyway and be open-minded. But if it seems wrong, it's going to follow the rule, and that would make us even more confident in what our real answer is. So chronology rule can help us. It can give us a nudge in certain directions, but it's just a recommendation, and we should really always read everything and trust the lines before we trust the rule. So let's make sure we follow, as we do this question, the QLC method, which means that we are going to first read the question that we're given, then jump down to the lines in question 23 before coming back up to the choices in question 22. And when we do this, the question here is super specific. It's got a lot of requirements. Based on the passage, textbook authors in the early 1990s, that's a very specific group of people we're talking about, would most likely have expected which condition to result from the blocking of fast fibers. So even that word expected is a useful word here. It tells me that there's some evidence in these lines that makes us think that they had an idea about what was going to happen. And so there's a theory, there's something going on that gave them a reason to believe this. So now when we go to the line references, we're looking to check off as many things from that question as possible. Might not be perfect, but the more we can check off, the better. So let's look at lines 1 through 4, line reference A. So we go up here, lines 1 through 4 are right here. In the early 1990s, check. Textbooks acknowledged that humans had slow conducting nerves, but asserted that those nerves only respond to two types of stimuli, pain and temperature. Okay, well, 1990s, textbooks, that's all good. What they're asserting, right, that sounds like maybe something that they believed or thought, but this is talking about slow conducting nerves, and I thought that I wanted something about fast fibers, so that sounds different. But here's the thing, is that's checking off a lot of boxes. I would write that this is about the slow ones so that I remember when I have to go back to these eventually, but I don't want to eliminate this just because of that. Okay, it's checking off enough boxes that I would want to keep this in the mix. It's related enough to the question. 4 to 7, just the next few lines. Sensations of pressure and vibration were believed to travel only along myelinated, fast signaling nerve fibers, which also give information about location. So that's talking about the fast fibers, which is good. And the fact that they say they believed it to be true suggests that it was something they would have expected. So this one seems good. And even though it doesn't specifically mention the 90s or the textbooks, it's clearly following from the previous sentence, which did talk about those things. So we have the context. And that's another reason why the no reading strategy can work, is even sometimes the wrong line references for these pairs are going to give us the information we need to better understand the right answers. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think the SAT knows that they want to focus you on certain pieces of information, and they're kind of giving you a break by at least showing you the important stuff, even if that's wrong and there's a better answer somewhere else. They've at least shown it to you so you can get that context. So I don't think this is a coincidence. B is looking like my favorite right now. But let's keep going. Choice C, lines 12 through 14. That's down here. Ooh, where does that start? That's weird. In the middle of a sentence. That's really weird. Okay, so it starts here. Blocking slow fibers only seemed to reduce sensitivity to warmth or a small painful shock. Okay, well, that's again about the slow fibers. So, I don't know. It also seems further removed from some of the other stuff that we wanted. This one doesn't feel right to me. You might leave it in because it's still about the slow fibers, but honestly, A seemed better than C. So I don't even like this as like my second best of my second best. 34 to 36, let's read it. That's all the way down here. In contrast, fast conducting fibers are already known to respond to touch signal at a rate between 35 and 75. Well, it's definitely talking about the fast fibers. That's a check mark. It doesn't seem to be about the 90s anymore, though. We're far away from that. And it seems to just be stating a fact. It doesn't seem to be saying what people believed to be true. And that's a subtle distinction, but it's an important one. Remember, the question is implying that there's something that they believed to be true, but it doesn't say that it's actually true. And I think that that is really what they're going for here. Whereas choice D, line reference D, seems to just be stating a fact about the speeds of these fibers. So there's a lot of reasons I don't like this, just from the context. But again, that chronology rule would have made that choice unlikely to be correct anyway. So I would be pretty confident crossing it out. Now comes what I think is the hard part, is trying to understand the science of the situation to match with the choice in question 22. So let's see, we want to know what condition they expected would result from the blocking of fast fibers. The rate at which other nerve fibers fired would increase, the test subject would perceive gentle stimuli as painful, the body would compensate by using slow fibers to sense pressure, the ability to perceive vibrations would be impaired. Oh my gosh. I don't understand any of that. So I got to go back. I thought B was the answer before. Let's look at it again. Sensations of pressure and vibration were believed to travel only along myelinated fast signaling nerve fibers, which also give information about location. So pressure, vibration, location. That's what we're dealing with. That's my dumb summary of what's going on. Let's bring that down here and try to understand it in the context of these choices. So what do fast fibers do? They're pressure, vibration, location. So if they were blocked, we'd have no pressure, vibration, or location. The rate at which other nerve fibers fired would increase. Maybe, but that doesn't seem to match with what I just read. So that's a logical assumption, but I don't have evidence of that assumption. So that's not great. I'd love to have the evidence. B, the test subject would perceive gentle stimuli as painful. Well, there's nothing about pain here, so that seems wrong too. I don't like that one. The body would compensate by using slow fibers to sense pressure. Well, pressure, hey, that's pretty good. But they didn't actually say that the slow fibers would take that on. In fact, they suggested the opposite, right? Look at what they say again. Sensations of pressure and vibration were believed to travel only along the myelinated fast signaling fibers. So how would it go across the slow ones if they were believed to only go across the fast ones? Something's up here. Now, maybe that's what we end up picking if D's not better, but that seems to be too much of a leap from what we're reading. So D, the ability to perceive vibrations would be impaired. Oh my gosh, that's like exactly what we said here. I mean, look, no vibrations was our guess of what would happen if we blocked the fibers. And that's like literally what this choice is saying, is that there would be no vibrations. Maybe impaired is weaker, which is good. We like weaker choices anyway, but that matches with our dumb summary. So here's the case where I didn't really understand what was going on because the science is complicated, the terms are weird. But because I used the question to give myself more clear ideas of what I wanted, I was able to sort through this science pretty confidently. And that's why the QLC method can be so important. If you're just reading lines without purpose, there's going to be a lot of stuff you don't understand and it's going to frustrate you. But if you pay attention to what you're supposed to take away from those lines, most of the time, even if you don't understand 80% of what the lines are about, you'll understand whether that 20% relates to the question. And that's what's important, is you want to answer this specific question. You do not need to write an essay or a book report about these lines. You don't need to understand them to be able to talk about them in front of people in class. This is about answering one specific question. So focus on that question, try to get that idea out of the lines, and don't worry about the rest. And trust yourself that as you go through a question, as you follow the QLC method, you'll learn more and more about what you want, and the lines will start to make more and more sense because you'll start to notice matching ideas in all of them. This is a great question to cover a lot of key concepts for the reading section. So if you need to, rewatch this. This hits a lot of important points.